Check, check. How we all doing today? All right, sound and video look good. Welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. I wanted to do a live stream today because I will not be able to do one for y'all on Friday or this weekend. Going to be doing a lot of Thanksgiving stuff with the family. So, first of all, I just wanted to say I am thankful for all of you, all the likes, comments, subscribers, even if you're not subbed. I'm thankful for all of you guys giving me a little bit of a platform. Many of the nice comments saying this guy deserves a way bigger audience. Let me just say, I do not care. I do not care if my audience has 2,000 subs, 20,000, 200,000. I would hope that I bring the same amount of effort and quality that I can to you guys each and every day. And if there's any ways I can improve little by little as a crypto person on YouTube, I will do my best to do so. So I enjoy doing this with all of you. Let's get into the markets today and something I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about a couple things with you guys. And I addressed this in one of the stock videos not too long ago. People might be wondering, why do we have this negative price action? And I give a shout out to these guys. They don't even know about me. I'm so small fry. But Subu Trade, it is one of the best newsletter subscriptions for markets out there, whether it's stocks, crypto. Highly recommend. Shout out to them. Great content. They give you some great almanac seasonality type data. And you may have seen, if you watch other stock or crypto videos, that there's been this Hindenburg omen in the markets, which is typically not good. And I think it can be simplified right here that the NASDAQ 100, as far as the 7-month percentage change, you see the territory we have gotten into. And funny enough, I've been making a lot of comparisons with the AI bubble that we're in currently right here and the dot-com bubble. Okay, you see very similar action in the Shiller PE ratio. But we have that going on. We have similarities maybe back here. And if this is playing out like it was in the late 90s, then we are going to get a lot of volatility, and we're going to get some of these times where, when we're hitting these levels, that maybe for the next few weeks or month, that overall it's going to be pretty negative. Now, the date that interests me the most here, July 16th, 1998, I've been making a lot of comparisons on how we are in very similar territory as late 98, early 1999, but even this showed that for a few months we were down. So that's the question that you need to answer for yourself. Is this a buy the dip opportunity, or is this end of cycle behavior? Now we see in all these instances, a year later, overall, how many times was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 8 times. Half a year later is positive. About 50% of the time, 3 months later, it was positive. So some of these things in the markets, how well we've been doing for so long do show expect some weakness. The only times we have gone down a year later in some similar setups you see here, the post Great Depression and back in 1980, but we didn't go negative as quick. So I did think it was worth revisiting some of this data to show there's still a lot of macro momentum out there. And yes, some things are elevated, and yes, we're getting some pullbacks. That is to be expected. But overall, if we make it through November, that maybe December, January is when we start to see markets resume to the upside. So I don't see anything saying that the bubble is popped right now. A lot of people are trying to claim, yeah, this is it. This is the end of the bubble. You see Bitcoin under the 50-week moving average. Bubble's done. Cycle's over. I'm not one of those believers. I believe that this cycle still has further to go. So just wanted to give a shout out to Subu Trade there. And also, let me just pose this to you, something to chew on, to think on is, Bitcoin gets a lot of these bigger pullbacks on the way to the top. And currently, this pullback, let's go to the daily to get you the most accurate information. So from that 126K high, we've had a 36% pullback. So that's something to ask yourself, is this 36% pullback something we're just seeing on the way to the top? This data, it doesn't include the bear markets. Bear markets when you're underneath the 50-week moving average. There's a lot of big pullbacks back here. So, do you believe we're 2019? Do you believe, we're seeing similar price action right here? Wanted to get into all that because, I think there's a lot of noise, a lot of people talking about Bitcoin getting to 200K, even when it was here or here, but now a lot of that talk has stopped. And that's curious to me. Something I think about is, what is my thesis? What is my hypothesis? As a good scientist, I try to collect as much field evidence and data as I can and put that together and have a hypothesis for a stock, for a crypto. And why is my belief that Joe says 3 commercials before I can watch your live stream? WTF? I do not know. Each of these videos, there is monetization on, and any of the live streams, I put it on the lowest monetization. So it says, it display a lot of ads, a medium amount, a low amount. I always do the low amount. So I do not control YouTube. Maybe Google stock is suffering and they're just hitting you with the ads. So sorry about that, but that's out of my control as far as that's concerned. I will say, I usually have the live streams playing on a TV in the background, make sure everything's going good. And if I ever get sort of a buffering issue or whatever, they'll just keep playing commercials. That's what I notice. Anyways, back to my hypothesis sort of diatribe here is, if I have a hypothesis backed up by data that Bitcoin is heading towards 200K, why would I change it all because Bitcoin got underneath a certain moving average? Has the conditions, the data for my hypothesis changed? Should I alter my view? Plainly speaking, no, the conditions for my hypothesis have not changed. And so therefore, I am viewing any of these pullbacks as greater discount territories. Now, you are welcome to disagree and think otherwise, but I would ask, why would you believe that 150K, 200K is no longer possible? What has changed for you? Why did you believe Bitcoin could get to 150K and change your mind? Because a lot of the arguments out there I see is purely based off timing or moving averages. People say, well, we have this 4-year cycle, and this can be your hypothesis. That is fine. But people say, we have 4 years between some of these peaks. It's been about 4 years again. You can take a look at this right here now. The first cycle to the second, that was not 4 years. But from the second cycle peak, you can see that was December 2013. 4 years to the top, December 2017, 3 years, 11 months, November 21, 3 years, 11 months, October 25. So people are saying 4-year cycle, that's it. I don't need much more. And that's fine. Maybe you're right. I'm going to explain why I don't think you're right. We'll get into that. But what else would be your hypothesis as to why it's over? The other common bear argument I see out there is, well, the 50-week moving average. I agree. The 50-week moving average, this orange line, is the dividing line between being bullish and bearish. That is true. However, we have seen in the past that Bitcoin has not topped yet, even when it gets underneath its 50-week moving average. Here in 2019, Bitcoin got under the 50-week twice. Now, we did have COVID here. Some people want to include that. Some people want to exclude it. COVID notwithstanding, there was a lot of, I was in the markets in this time and before, there was a lot of macro concern that the economy was heading towards a recession. And then COVID pretty much kicked it into overdrive. The Fed responded with a ton of quantitative easing. We can go to the United States Central Bank balance sheet here. You can see this is when the Fed was tightening. Okay, August 2019, they switched to quantitative easing because they knew that there were cracks forming. Then we got COVID. March 2020. You could see 4 trillion to 7 trillion, 3 trillion created out of thin air overnight. During the Trump administration, mind you, and people are like, they're blaming inflation on Biden. And hey, there was printing during Biden's term too. I blame it on everyone. I'm an equal opportunity hater. However, we cannot say that inflation was only caused by Biden. It was caused by both of them. Whenever you are printing, that is 4 to 9 trillion, 5 trillion out of thin air, you're going to get inflation. And since this time, roughly speaking, our dollars are worth 25% less than they were in 2020. Now, we do see here quantitative easing in this 2019 situation. And the Fed has said that starting December 1st, they are switching over from quantitative tightening to quantitative easing. Once again, off that 100-month moving average. Now, I do not foresee, unless there's a big black swan or emergency reason to do so, I do not foresee anything like this. We can see in the Great Financial Crisis, yes, they printed like pretty much $1 trillion out of thin air, and other over that decade, they did so, at a lesser rate. Even here, 2012 to 2014, how many of you even remember them doing quantitative easing? There's more people that are in tune to this now than ever before, but I do not think they are going to just shoot off like a rocket unless there's a reason to do so. Anyways, going back over to Bitcoin, 2019 was the last time that Fed switched from QT to QE. And coincidentally enough, look at where Bitcoin's price was. It was at the 100-week moving average. That is where Bitcoin is right now. Now, something I talked about this in my crypto video earlier today, the macro video, and I just wanted to pose this to you guys. And I was looking at this price structure, and I'm like, this isn't common price structure. Okay, to see it round over like this. I went through different stocks, cryptos. I'm like, are we forming a head and shoulders? Maybe. But I'm like, where have I seen this before? I know I've seen this. And wouldn't you know it, back in 2023, I thought we saw something kind of similar. Let's go even to the daily. So you see this base here, a double bottom almost, if you will, but then we get this higher high. And in 2023, Bitcoin did this kind of twice. We had this double top. It sank through lower here, had this double top, slightly higher high, came down, formed that double bottom base, and then it regained structure and popped out of it. So I've been wondering, if this is truly end of cycle behavior, we will see things on the charts, the indicators, to show that Bitcoin is going to get rejected by certain fibs. Maybe we'll have actually, let's go back to the daily. That Bitcoin could go to a 618 or a 786 retracement, something to that effect. Here, let's do this. Drawn from high to low. Bitcoin might get back up here. Actually, this would be a great area for a rejection. Right at around 107, 108K. That would be an area I would watch for as far as a lower high in the market. So I could see Bitcoin doing well from here. But if this is going to be if that is the top, then we might just get back up to one of these levels right here. Now, we did have a top before. I brought up the head and shoulders before for crypto. And wouldn't you know it, that the last head and shoulders or the right shoulder would be right around that 618. Here's the golden pocket, the 618 to the 65. So if there is to be a head and shoulder, that would coincide with a 618 retrace. That is something to keep an eye on. So again, I hope you guys see this. If we are to get a head and shoulders, we're going to see something like this. And the right shoulder would match back here. We would get rejected by maybe one of these moving averages, the 618 to the 65. That's if we have a false top. Now, are there any other indicators around this area to say, you know what, if we break above that, then we are in a 2023 type of scenario, or we are getting structure, or bounces like we did in 2019 with the quantitative easing comparison. So just wanted to run through some of those. You see the 50, I'd say the 20 week right now. The 20 weeks hanging up here. If all of a sudden we start to blast out of here, the 20 weeks going to become important. But I think there's better indicators out there now. Make no mistake right now, the indicators are bearish. We are under the 50 week. The stochastic low is low. That's bearish. The MACD, let's take a look at that. There's a lot of indicators. These are not done being bearish yet. So we do not have confirmation. We want to see price structure hold. I like this 81 to 85K area. And if price structure holds while some of these indicators reset, that's a good thing. One of the indicators I've been talking about the most with this recent pullback is the RSI. There's no simpler indicator than this. And we see that when we have been oversold, we're oversold right now. The last two times we were oversold was pretty much the literal bottom. Now, we did have the FTX flash crash, black swan event there. But when we were oversold here, that was the literal bottom. So if Bitcoin is making a literal bottom at 81K at its 100-week moving average, then that would match up pretty similarly to 2019. But again, look at the strength. Look how oversold 2020 was. We are more oversold right now than we were during COVID. Think about that for a moment. So this bearish divergence, this has been the elephant in the room for the longest time. Okay, hindsight's always 2020, and it makes sense to me that this bearish divergence would have to unwind. It would have to diverge, which it is right now. We needed the RSI to reset if 150, 200K was ever going to be real. So if you believed in 150, 200K, this bearish divergence, it needed to play out. It needed to reset. And if I could give you one of the best case scenarios for Bitcoin to get to 150, 200K and to get a reset, you'd say, you know what? This bearish divergence, it'd play out, and maybe Bitcoin would hold its 1, 2, 3, 6 fib and 100-week moving average. That is what it's doing right now. Now, if we do sell down further, we have the 200-week moving average and Bitcoin's former all-time high here at 70K. Me personally, not telling you what to do, I will not miss Bitcoin at 70K. If it gets to the 200-week moving average, I don't care what's going on. We have inflationary pressures across the board, Kiwi coming back, gold with a big run up in local top, rate cuts. There would be so many good reasons, even long term, to get Bitcoin at its 200-week moving average. So one of the viewers in my last live stream said, hey, this is a Black Friday discount for crypto. I love that mindset. Now, if you buy in here, before structure or momentum flips and diverges into positive territory, you do run the risk of catching a falling knife, and we don't have the confirmation quite yet. Anyways, what I did want to talk about here, besides the 618 area, is are there other indicators to show where we need to break through that we've seen in the past, maybe in 2019? And one of the indicators, a lot of people like this, and it's a great indicator. This is a bull market support band. And wouldn't you know it, look where that bull market support band is. It's just hovering above that golden pocket. Again, if we are to get a head and shoulders, we're going to run into that bull market support band somewhere between 100 and 106K, 107K. If Bitcoin recovers here and we get a head and shoulders, we're going to have to get through this whole mess right here. Now, like I said, in 2023, Bitcoin did get under the bull market support band. Okay, this structure right here, very similar to what we're seeing right now, in my opinion. But look at what Bitcoin did with its bull market support band. It got through it, and it got through in a big way. All right, how about 2019? What did we see here? Well, 2019, we also saw Bitcoin get through its bull market support band. Yes, we had COVID. We had things get negative. We went down to the 200-week moving average. Remember, the 100-week was in here. But the bull market support band, this was showing us that Bitcoin wasn't quite dead yet. Now, when it has been over, mama bear scenario, 4-year cycle, this is it. This market psychology guy, he can't admit that, this cycle's done. Here's what you want to see. You want to see the bull market support band or, the 50-week moving average, any of those get rejected. 2021, at the end of last cycle, Bitcoin had that double top and it got through the bull market support band. But when it was over, look how the bull market support band rejected it. All right, so the bull market support band and the 618 area, I would say even the 1618, the macro 1618 at 100K to the 618 at 107K, roughly speaking, this whole area right here, maybe I should draw a box. Let's find a shape, if we will. Where's my boxes at? Here we go. Let's draw a box. I'm going to say, or hereby declare, this whole area right here, let's change the color. We're going to do yellow for caution. And I'm even going to fill that in a little bit. Caution, because we're going to have possible head and shoulders area. We're going to have big fib support, bull market support band. Watch what Bitcoin does in this area. If we get through this area, I think we are bullish again. All right. Now, there were other indicators I talked about before to maybe confirm that, if you will. We have the Larson line, which is very similar to the bull market support band, a little bit different, but I am a fan of the Larson line, like many of you guys are. We got below the Larson line, all right? And in the past, now again, 23 comparison coming up, we got below it, formed a base, and then came out of it, okay? But in the end of last cycle, we got rejected by the Larson line, the bull market support band. You can see Larson line holding the bottom here. So again, going back to the 2019 scenario, okay, you can see the Larson line, we were playing around with it. We were toying with our food, if you will, playing with our food back in 2019. And again, we had quantitative easing starting back here, and the markets did take a little bit to respond. So I say all that to show you we have indicators, we have price levels, we have things to watch for. I am not ready to say the cycle's over yet. I don't know how anyone could, unless you are only basing your argument based on time. Now, in my earlier video today, I said, you know what, let's talk about this. Let's talk about time. Here with this rainbow chart, whether you like it or not, I think anyone will admit, 95% of crypto people, if not more, can admit that Bitcoin's price action has operated within a logarithmic regression. Logarithmic, log scale, factor of 10. Okay, regression means it flattens out over time. It is steeper earlier on, flattens out over time. To bring back COVID statistics back in 2020 looked like this. There was a big increase at first in COVID stats, and then it flattened out over time as far as infections from COVID. So on the x-axis, we have, I believe I'm saying this right. Let me make sure. It's been a while since I took math in college. XY axis. I want to make sure I'm getting this right. So, I got it wrong in the prior video. That's embarrassing. So the y-axis is the vertical one. I misspoke in the earlier video. I'm sorry about that. The y-axis is here, okay? It is the vertical axis, our log scale. The x-axis is our scale of time. Now, if you agree that log regression, that Bitcoin has fit within a log regression, then you are also admitting that we are stretching over time, that we aren't simply just going straight up. If you watch the cursor, if you don't believe in log regression and you believe in the 4-year cycle, then you believe Bitcoin should be doing this, just going up on a 45-degree angle. Let me draw that again. Okay, if you believe in the 4-year cycle, you are making the argument that, you know what, this log regression is nonsense. Bitcoin does this because every 4 years it tops. Now, we have had tops within, 1, 2, 3. We have had local tops 4 years apart, 4 of them, if you will. However, last cycle, We had alt season at a different top. We had alt season at an earlier top here in 2021. All right. We also, technically speaking, between the halvings, the true top for Bitcoin was in March of 24. Now, some alts did pretty well there. Actually, I think that was meme coins season. Meme coins did pretty well here, including, I think, Link, Solana. They did well, but not as good as here. We didn't have the true alt season, okay? This alt season that plays out where people want to get into altcoins and try to multiply their money as much as possible. What you are waiting for is Bitcoin to be too expensive to buy. You're waiting for Bitcoin to top and to get this rotation. Now we are in phase 2 right now. There's no denying that. We are in phase 2. In fact, I think this is an argument for the cycle not being over. We see, this is a Larson line right now. I can add on the MACD, if you will. Let's do that. MACD, here we go. We see the MACD has gone into negative territory, negative momentum. We see Bitcoin dominance getting rejected by the Larson line. When has this happened before? Well, this happened all the way back here in 2019, 2020. In fact, Bitcoin dominance turned bearish somewhere back here. We could throw on the moving averages. Larson line is going to do well enough. You can see when we are above the Larson line, we're bullish, but when we're underneath it, this is the alt season. Right here, right here. These two times were our alt season. They lasted for about 4 or 5 weeks. So for the alt season you're waiting on, let me just put this in the perspective for you that ever since 2017, December 2017, we've had 2 alt seasons in the matter of 3,000 days. It does not happen often, but what we are looking for is that rotation. And that rotation happens after Bitcoin tops and is too expensive to buy. Now, Bitcoin can run up until we get that rotation. But again, I think, this is something that people don't talk about. If you believe in the 4-year cycle, that's fine. But we did not get alt season with what people are arguing was the 4-year cycle top. If you believe November was the 4-year cycle top last cycle, well, I'm here to tell you that was not alt season. We had a mini alt season here. Yes, some alts did go higher, but it was the first top where we had alt season. All right. Now, 2017, nice and clean. Bitcoin topped. It was too expensive to keep buying. After the top, we had a rotation. Bitcoin dominance went down. The percent of money that's in crypto rotated out of Bitcoin into more high-risk assets. Now, people have made a comparison, and I haven't looked into this too much, admittedly, to, I believe, it's the Russell 2000. They say, you know what? When the Russell 2000 is breaking new all-time highs or breaking above former all-time highs and we are risk on, you see right here, look at that Russell 2000. But early on, 2017, that's when Bitcoin dominance, when we had that rotation. Here, the Russell 2000 again, you can see where it's breaking up. After the Russell 2000 broke up, people were investing in speculative tech. And once you know it, speculative tech, the most speculative altcoins, that's when we had that rotation. So recently, the Russell 2000, it's gotten into all-time high territory. It came back down. It's retesting. Again, we're looking at this backline. But if you see the Russell start to take off, that will be one of those signs. So if you're looking for, when is alt season? I don't know when. No one knows when. But I'm giving you data to watch as far as when you could expect that, because this is not a common occurrence. I hope you see what I'm doing. I'm trying to tie all the data together to show you that we have not had that end of cycle type behavior, and that my hypothesis for crypto in general, it hasn't changed. Yes, we are experiencing a little bit of bearishness right now. Bitcoin, it might go to the 100-month moving average. It might go to the 200. I don't care. I believe in it. I'm buying it. All right. I don't see the bubble popping right now. There's nothing to indicate that for me. I was just thinking today, I'm like, it has been rather quiet lately. Like, are we due for some sort of FUD, Black Swan type of stuff out there? We've had alien invasion talk, all these other things. Hey, I'm not here to get into all that, but I'm like, it's been kind of quiet lately. When's the next major bit of FUD? Because this was in my opinion, this was a standard correction here. So these levels to me are can't miss levels for Bitcoin, and all because we're underneath the 50-week moving average. That doesn't mean it's over. So again, going over to Bitcoin dominance, this is bearish right now. And if Bitcoin dominance is bearish, how can we make the argument that the cycle is done? Now, there's a new factor going on with Bitcoin this cycle overall. And people have been talking all about it. Institutionalization. We have Bitcoin ETFs, Wall Street, they're all into Bitcoin. And you know what? I think that even plays into the argument more of this log regression. Again, x-axis is time, y-axis is the log scale. If Wall Street is going to buy and sell Bitcoin that much more, and they're going to take smaller profits compared to retail, then it would make sense that we are just going to kind of crawl or slowly grind up. And that's fine, because there's a lot of stocks. They will climb the wall of worry. They will slowly grind up. And those are hard stocks to short. And speaking of that, we just had crypto longs. If you ever look at any of those trading charts, where all the calls and the puts are, there was a lot of Bitcoin calls in the, I want to say the mid 90Ks, or the longs got wiped out. And now the shorts are starting to stack in. And we even talked about this a little bit on Subu Trade, how the shorts are starting to pile in more than the longs on crypto. And crypto loves doing this. It's done this in the past where it takes out the longs and then it takes out the shorts. So I'm taking a look at all this and I'm saying to myself, I'm like, you know what? This would be the area where I could see Bitcoin bottoming before continuing further. Now, the rainbow chart, the log regression, you guys see where these tops are when it's euphoric. Okay. We can be very conservative. Let's go to March of next year. I'm going to say that light orange box. Where's that light orange box? 160 to 210K. You see it, right? This light orange box. Okay. 160 to 200K. Bitcoin's gotten higher before. You can go on coinglass.com and you look at all the bull market peak indicators. We have not had the peak yet, but if we zoom out, we can see from the high to the low, the fib extensions match up pretty nicely. The 2618 to the 3618. Let's get rid of this real quick. And I've shown you all before on this channel, if we add in our log regression, okay, we see that the 2618 to the 3618 is right in that upper area of the log regression, which funny enough is where Bitcoin topped out the last two cycles. All right. And maybe it only gets to 160K. Maybe we get to 200K. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But again, we have quantitative easing coming back. We have the Russell 2000. Maybe I need to start talking about this more. How the Russell 2000, this shows us when Wall Street is risk on, because we're looking at higher risk assets. And right now, it had a nice little pullback to the 888, the 20. It's a good area for a bounce here. All right. Now, maybe some other indicators say that or not. I don't know. We also have the current AI bubble. There's no doubt about it. We are in a bubble on the Shiller PE ratio. But you see that when the dot-com bubble got above 40, just like we did now, okay, look at the date down here. That was early 1999. Early 1999. And in early 1999, or actually let's go to 1999 right here. Look at how the volatility ranged between 20 and 30. 20 and 30, okay? The volatility has just recently started to flip bullish. But here on the stocks, let's go to this right now. Let's go to early 1999. We can see that the market still had 400 days up and 25% up. So if we get similar bubble type of scenarios, That means we still have higher to go. All right, 25% up, 400 days. Where would 25% up be? We are getting to the upper area of this channel, high 7K S&P, if you can believe it. Some of you can't, but believe it or not, since the great financial crisis, the S&P has been in this channel, high to low, and we have not hit the top area of the channel yet. The Fed is doing rate cuts, switching to QE when we're already pretty much close to all-time highs. So yes, going back to Subu trade, there's a lot of things to say. Let's go to the beginning. That we should expect. Here they talked about the Hindenburg omens. Expect short-term corrections. Okay. Going back to the Nasdaq percent change. Again, look at all that red early on. This one's even better. I like this one. It's to be expected. We had a lot of the markets were doing well, and they were due for a pullback. But again, I go back to asking the question, why has our thesis changed? Why would we change our outlook for Bitcoin not going to 200 anymore? All because this 4-year phenomena, or because we're underneath the 50-week moving average? I just don't see that line up. I don't see anything to say this is the top. Now we are bearish. Are we in a bubble? Yeah, we are in a bubble. Actually, going back to the S&P, I mean, you can see this for yourself. Let's get rid of this fib here. We know where that 1618 fib is, somewhere up around 7K. But when we get out of these corrections, let's watch what happens off these 20-week moving averages. Here the S&P went down to the 100, bounced off the 20, the fourth time it came down. Okay. I would assume that we're probably going to get some more bounces. We might not. Maybe we see the S&P come down to the high 5Ks, whatever. I don't know. But, with all those negative short-term statistics, historical almanac statistics, again, where's that Hindenburg omen? Look at all these Hindenburg omens. Yes, we might be short-term bearish. That's fine. But I don't believe that this is end of cycle recession. I believe we were overbought. This is a standard pullback. And bringing it back to crypto, when did we see that? 2 cycles ago, we saw that in 2019. Look at 2019. Bitcoin bottomed. In a short period of time, it ran up 3x. Okay? It even more probably if I measured it correctly. Then it needs to cool off for a little bit. That is normal behavior. Then the quantitative easing, the rate cuts, rocketed it up further to new all-time highs. Bitcoin ran hot. It's getting its standard pullback. And now is the time, I believe, where we are going to get some good answers. So again, going to the Larson line and the the bull market support band. Both of these showed that, if we are in for more bearishness, I think it would be likely that we would see a bounce sometime soon up in this area and get rejected. If we get through this area, then I'm here to say I believe that we're going to see a top sooner than later for a cycle and a subsequent alt season once Bitcoin is done topping. Once it's done topping, we get that dominance rotation. And again, Bitcoin dominance, it is bearish. And the momentum on Bitcoin dominance is very bearish right now. We see this. You see that downward trend. Just look at the moving averages. You see that bullish divergence here. Okay, we see the bearish divergence. Bitcoin dominance come down. We have that bearish divergence right now underneath the bull market support band, the MACD. So there's different macro factors to say this isn't end of cycle. Okay, this isn't end of cycle. If all of a sudden Bitcoin dominance turns bullish again, okay, I'm going to give you the end of cycle type scenario. Let's say even at best, like the most the most bull trap type scenario, we get a head and shoulders, we get up here and we get rejected, and we also get Bitcoin dominance breaking bullish again at that time, going to newer highs. Then I will change my hypothesis. I'll say, there's different conditions, different data, and we have to alter how we look at buying different crypto assets. Okay. then I would change my tune. But right now, if anything, I think quantitative easing, all the inflationary forces is saying, you know what, like altcoins are more bullish than that of Bitcoin. Let's take a look at the altcoin market. We have total 3. It's down here now, but it's getting support there. Let's take a look at the moving averages. There's no doubt things are bearish right now. But is it baby bear or mama bear? Now, total 3, we've bounced off this 100-week moving average before. I don't love seeing this round out. That is concerning to me. And if this is a double top, you can measure it yourself. It's probably somewhere around here. Ethereum, Bitcoin, this is bullish. This Ethereum's value is going up against Bitcoin. This is our path to alt season. We've had Bitcoin year. We're still in Bitcoin year overall. You can have these working together. So Ethereum is moving more positively than that of Bitcoin. We are still in phase 2. Phase 2 would be over if all of a sudden we're getting down here. Okay, if this just kept rounding down and we made a new low. Okay, but right now, this is phase 2. And even the MACD shows us, let's go to the MACD. The MACD, again, look at that negative momentum. It's in the positive territory. And if the MACD flips positive again, handles this correction, stays positive, goes higher, if this happens, we're going to see things get very interesting for altcoins. This is the large caps of the largest 10. It's in a giant 8-year wedge. If that breaks out, that's huge. The others divided by Bitcoin. Others is the total market cap of all the altcoins outside the top 10 cryptos. So everything underneath Cardano. Okay. That total market cap is 12% compared to Bitcoin. Okay. Now this one's had some positive divergence. I think we looked at this a couple of videos ago. Look at how oversold this has been. Okay. So is this getting ready to finally break? It's been more oversold than overbought. So eventually this thing's going to start breaking up and people are going to be chasing altcoins at that time. So here are different charts and things to watch and look for. This is the RSI and Tether dominance. 6.1% of all money in crypto is in Tether. Got rejected nicely by that Fib. Now what Tether does right here at 5.9% is going to tell us a lot, whether or not we are heading towards newer highs or if, Bitcoin's going lower. If we see Tether get rejected here and go higher, Bitcoin's going lower towards that 70K area. Okay. But you can see Tether is overbought on the daily and on the weekly. The last time Tether was this overbought, I mean, look at this. This is a literal top for Tether. That's June of 22. So for as bearish as things are right now, for as much fear as there is, people, let's face it, us retail, we suck at calling the bubble. And I remember this, even though I was a teenager. I remember people calling the dot-com bubble a bubble, like even in the mid-90s. This thing went on longer than people even thought. And again, markets can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. The whole shtick. Once people give up and say, you know what, it's not a bubble, everything's fine, then I'm worried. But, as I showed you before, we could still have 400 days up, another 25% up in the stock market. I'm not seeing any end of cycle behaviors. Do we have reasons to be concerned the short, medium term? Yeah. But again, my thesis hasn't changed. And so these are dips that I'm going to buy. These are discounts I'm going to be buying because the AI bubble, crypto being tied with it, I think all those are going to be that we are still very bullish in the medium term. 5 years from now, I don't know. I'm not as confident that 5 years from now the markets won't be lower. That we've been blasting up quite a bit. But short term, I'm seeing this as a buy the dip opportunity. And, heck, this is great right here. Look at the CNN Fear and Greed Index. When we've had extreme fear. Imagine not buying that tariff scare. Anytime you see people posting how, the politician they hate is standing in front of a bunch of charts that are red, you probably know it's near a local bottom. This was extreme fear. This was extreme fear. This was extreme fear. This was close to extreme fear. We're literally not buying the local bottoms when you miss out on this. Now the strange thing is we have extreme fear very close to an all-time high. Are we getting one of these type of scenarios? I think this could be what's going on right now, that people, as things do well for a while, they're looking for any reason for the markets to roll over. They say, things have been too good for too long. It's kind of like that self-fulfilling prophecy, or sort of that ominous lurking evil in the background that you just feel it in your soul, that things have been too good for a while, and we get a little bit of a pullback and extreme fear. And I think the fear is extremely overblown. And overall in this chart, at least most of the time, those are great dips to buy. I mean, even here, if you have a long-term horizon. Charles says it's not Friday. Tesla and Doge, please, of course. Unless, of course, you already covered. I did not cover those. Let's get into those quick, Charles. It's not Friday. I'm not going to be able to do a live stream Friday, all the Thanksgiving stuff. Thankful for all you guys. I just wanted to get a live stream out for you guys this week. This week's going to be packed with family things. So family and friends, all that stuff. But yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Thankful for all you guys, all the support and everything. Let's go to Tesla and Doge for you. Charles, I hope you're doing well and that you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Doge is right at its 382. It needs to hold its 382. It's lost the 200 week, and that's not good. So yeah, Doge. If you like Doge anywhere near this 14-cent line, we saw this wick way back here. Could Doge get back to 9.5 cents? Okay. I mean, I don't want my bias to influence you, but I've long talked on this channel. Out of all the top large caps, Doge and Tron worry me the most. Now, crypto's an ironic space. Stupid stuff can do well for no reason. Doge is one of those altcoins. I believe it's an inflationary alt where they print more, so that's working against it. But, as far as structure here, we've hit an important level. What do we have for the MACD? This is playing out so far. Okay. It is in negative territory. That's not great, but it does look like it could flip positive. So if you're just taking an educated gamble, 14 cents, not bad. Let's go to stochastic. I mean, it's bottomed out. I'd be looking for when it starts moving up into the shaded territory. And you can get fake outs, obviously. But again, as a dollar cost averager myself, I like to buy a bucket of bottoms. You can wait for, buy signal like the one I use. We don't have confirmation yet. However, it's looking pretty bottomish. Even if you're just kind of swing trading, I don't hate this level. There was another one I wanted to take a look at. Which one was it? Which one did I want to take a look at? I think maybe it's ultimate. Yeah. I mean, look how low this ultimate RSI is. By the time it starts curling up, maybe you could wait for that. Wait for this thing to be done bottoming out, start curling up. We don't have confirmation, but we have a decent level here at around 14. You could possibly catch a falling knife if you try buying it here. Again, I'm a bucket of bottoms person, so if Doge was my thing, I might be like, you know what? I like this fib. I'm going to throw some money at it. And if it goes lower, then I'm waiting for confirmation. If we get that structure, that confirmation, that positive momentum, anywhere near a fib or something, then I toss in some more. And then you wanted Tesla as well. We have to get off crypto. And I'll close out this live stream soon. Tesla, I mean, speaking of RSI, my God, this is, that's bearish divergence, all right. And Tesla is lower high, even lower high in the RSI. I will say this, when we see Tesla have these big sharp moves up, it can just kind of die down quicker over time. So, yeah, my gut says, ascending channel 888. I've never liked the 888 fib as a strong fib area, but it got rejected by it. If this 786 gets lost in that 20 week, what's that on the daily? I mean, look at these wicks. We see a base here, almost a double bottom, almost. But yeah, to me that shows more strength to the downside. I would be eyeing 356 Tesla. Let's go to some of our different indicators here. Now, I mean, look at this. The daily MACD is saying, oh, hold on, we could be flipping up here. So pay attention to that. Man, Tesla to me is like such a casino. Um, Overall, I mean, this is no doubt about it, a positive macro trend. You see that MACD weekly trend, but we got a lower high. I would be concerned about that. When we've gotten lower highs, okay, was the price higher? No. So it's not quite divergence. But when we get these macro lower highs, I mean, look at that. Things can get crazy. If this is the start of a downtrend, and it's about to turn negative on the weekly, yeah, the weekly supersedes the daily. I'd be worried about this one. The lower area of the channel, as well as your golden pocket, everything, possibly even look for Tesla at 290. So, anyways, just going back to Bitcoin, do we have confirmation the bottom's in? No. We might see Bitcoin, if it gets to 68, 70K, I am going after it no matter what. Okay. That's a can't miss area for me. Even if it goes lower, in the most, World War III, aliens invading, tsunami, COVID 2.0, whatever you want to say, long term, this is an area you can't miss. And you can see when Bitcoin's at its 200, imagine missing those areas. I would not. Even the 100 week, you have to be more patient, but even in the most bearish scenarios, being at or under the 100 week, you don't want to miss that. You're here, 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 and right here, I'd say this is good areas for support. Charles, thank you, and likewise. So what I'm looking for again, we have QE ticking up. We have similar price structure as back here, and I think the Larson line, the bull market support band, to put a nice bow on this, if we are to see any bit of a recovery here, watch what happens here in this area of 100 to 107K. If we get through that area, then this is baby bear, and we have 150K looming. If we get rejected, a head and shoulders, all right, then it's bigger bear, maybe a teenage bear, maybe a mama bear, I don't know. But if we get rejected here, then we get down here. And again, that's an area I would not miss for the long term. So anyways, that'll do for today. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Everyone, thankful for all of you. Appreciate you. No live stream Friday. I'll try to put out a video or two tomorrow just to get a week's worth of content in 2 days. Mindfully enjoy that time with your family. It's okay to not look at charts and just embrace that time. Just share a personal message. I've dealt with some loss this year personally. And what I'll say is, even for the people or any of the things that annoy you, once those people are gone, funny enough, those are the things you start to miss a little bit that you can laugh at later on. Everyone's situation's different, but just try to mindfully enjoy and be grateful for those in your life, and take a moment to just appreciate people. It goes a long way. So thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful day. Take care.